Hey, what's up everybody? This is Carlton Cullins, personal trainer and nutrition specialist here in Austin, Texas. I am also the owner of the Blue Sky Strongbox, and today is January 26, 2010. I hope everybody out there that's watching is doing well. I hope you're working on the things that you need to work on and trying to educate yourself as much as possible. Today what I'm going to talk about is resistance training, and I'm going to try to summarize and kind of end up this little series that I've done this month. The first video I talked about nutrition and eating and the importance of all that and trying to figure out how many calories your own self, your body needs, because everybody's different. The second video I talked a little bit about cardio and overall movement and overall burning calories, and today I'm going to talk about resistance training and a few other things. I apologize last week for not having a video up. I get really busy sometimes, and last week was one of those really busy weeks. Please bear with me. I'm sorry. I'm doing the best that I can. I also apologize that these videos are getting long. I promise you next week I will get back to at least 2 or 3 minute short videos next week. Also, before I get into anything, I cannot stress enough how important it is for you to go out there and educate yourself. I myself cannot give you everything that you need, and neither can any other one person out there. It's up to you to find the information that you need for yourself and the questions that you have. Go out there, find good books, good qualified professionals, and good information, and educate yourself. It will be the best thing that you ever did for yourself, and that goes for anything in life. All right. Let's get into resistance training. What is resistance training? The technical version of it is basically the body or the muscles of the body performing contractions that either stabilize or overcome an external weight. Sounds all fancy, but basically we know this to be such things as, say, body weight exercises such as push-ups and lunges and squats and crunches, using barbells and dumbbells, using weight equipment at a gym, exercise tubing bands, kettlebells, flipping tires, even swimming is a form of resistance training. So there's lots of different versions of it. All of them basically do the same thing. Why is it important to do resistance training? A lot of people ask me that a lot. It's important for a lot of reasons, but if I had to say one main reason, it is to basically preserve your muscle mass. Because at a certain point we start to lose muscle. This happens at a certain point around, they say roughly around, the studies say around 25, that our bodies are fully grown and we start to basically depreciate and decline as we get older. As we get older, people that don't do regular resistance training each week or on some kind of regular basis start to lose muscle. About a half a pound of muscle a year is what the studies say. Over 10 years, that might be 5 pounds of muscle that you lose. When you lose muscle, your metabolism slows down. When your metabolism slows down, you gain body fat. So obviously this is something we don't want to happen. You can stop this from happening by doing such things as resistance training. Also, eating right is really important too, but these things can be interrupted. The aging process is something we've come to accept in here in America and probably all over the world, that we get older, we get decrepit, we can't move as well, and we get fat, and we just, everything sucks from here on out. But it doesn't have to be that way. They have proven people in their 80s and 90s can still gain lean muscle, have relatively good flexibility, and decrease body fat. So we can interrupt the aging process greatly by doing resistance training. It promotes the natural growth hormones in our body in men and women, and that's something that's very, very beneficial to keeping us from aging. The other really important benefits are obviously we get improved circulation. If you're doing certain exercises through a good range of motion, you actually improve your flexibility and your mobility within your joints, and that's really important. Obviously, we get strength gains, we get endurance gains in the muscle and the body. We burn a lot of calories, which burns our body fat. I also like to think of it from the outside in. Obviously, that's the muscles and kind of the external stuff, losing body fat. But as we go a little bit deeper, we also strengthen the ligaments and the tendons, which is really important because that's what connects the muscles and bones together within the body. It helps prevent injury. And then going a little bit deeper than that, we also increase the density of our bones. That's really important because as we age, bones become more brittle. A lot of people when they're older, they break bones, and that leads to a lot of inactivity, which also increases the aging process. So if we can avoid all these things by doing resistance training, I think it's a good thing. So I'm trying to convince you. There's lots of different types of resistance training like I talked about earlier. All of them pretty much do the same thing. You don't need a lot of fancy equipment. You don't need to belong to a gym. All you need is the effort and the know-how. So it's real important. There's two basic things that work with resistance training. Two basic concepts I like to think about and you need to keep in mind. There's the stimulus part, which is actually the exercises and the routine. And then there's the rest and recovery period. A lot of people neglect the rest and recovery period. There's a lot of things that go into that. There's proper eating and nutrition, proper sleep and rest, and just not working out too frequently or not enough. We need to make sure that you're, like if you do a hard workout, you're going to need to rest and recover before you work out again. A lot of people overtrain because they think a little bit is good, a lot must be really good. And they end up overtraining and they end up with joint injuries and all kinds of stuff. And you got to be careful with that. The rest and recovery is as important, if not more important, than the actual working out itself. So keep that in mind. I also need to talk about the most important thing with resistance training is the balance, the natural balance of the body. Basically, the body has muscles that push, muscles that pull, and muscles that stabilize. We want a balance between all these things. Some muscles do all of these different contractions, but we need to make sure there's a balance within the body. As we move through life, as we do a lot of the same movements over and over, all our lives, sleeping patterns, certain things, we create imbalances within the body. Some muscles are shorter, some are longer, so at different joints it causes a lot of problems, and it causes compensation patterns of our movement, which leads to injury eventually. And so we want to avoid that. So your exercise routine should be balanced as well as, you're trying to balance your body, your routine needs to be balanced. So basically trainers and coaches, the really good ones, try to break it up into simple movement, functional moving patterns. These patterns are basically a horizontal push, a horizontal pull, a vertical push and a vertical pull, a knee-dominant exercise, a hip-dominant exercise, and then some core, at least one or two core exercises. These can all be done on the same day. You don't have to split these up in any routine. You can split them up. If you do, I would say do like the pushing exercises and maybe the horizontal or the hip-dominant exercises on one day, and do all the pulling or the pushing exercises and the knee-dominant exercise on the other day. But I personally recommend full body workouts for most people. I think it's the most efficient way. Typically, if you're working out more than an hour, you're working out too long. I want you to keep that in mind. Unless you're a bodybuilder, your workout should be less than an hour. Typically, my workouts are anywhere between 15 minutes and probably 45 minutes. So you can get a workout done really quickly, but you want to have all this, a balance between the push and the pull. Too much bench pressing and stuff like that, which is, a lot of guys do create, not only do you look deflected, later on you're all bowed like this, but it also creates a lot of injuries. So you got to get that right. There's a lot of variables with working out, so do your research on this. There's lots of different exercises, lots of different how many sets you should do, how many repetitions you should do. It all depends on what goal you're doing for. So research that and always keep this in mind. There's nothing special about a number. People are like, how many times should I do that? Well, I'm like, it just depends on your body and depends on what you're going for as far as your goal. The basic concept to always remember is the number doesn't really mean anything. The body doesn't know that you're doing 10 reps. It could give a crap about 10 reps. It just wants the muscle to be under tension for a certain length of time. So it's that concept of time under tension. There's lots of different times under tension that yield different adaptations. So you need to figure out what you want to do and then attack it from that standpoint. Also keep in mind that there's a thing called periodization. How what your workout routine consists of. You should change your routine every 3 or 4 weeks to avoid plateaus. The body adapts pretty quickly, as the healthy body does. So every 3 or 4 weeks you can change your routine. You'll avoid all that. Last thing I want to talk about is hiring a personal trainer. If all this stuff I've talked about is really confusing, you might need to hire a personal trainer. There's trainers at gyms, commercial gyms. There's trainers privately. I myself have worked at a commercial gym for years, and I've worked a few years here privately at my house. There's good and bad trainers everywhere. So call one. Talk to them on the phone. Meet them in person. See if they actually care. See if you get a good feeling about them and see if they care about you more than the money. A lot of trainers are in it just to make money, so be careful for them. Also, I'm not going to talk badly about young trainers, but be careful about young trainers or any trainer that doesn't have a lot of experience. An experienced trainer is going to understand a lot of things and has seen things that do work and don't work. So if I had my recommendations, I would say to go with a trainer that has a lot of experience. Also keep in mind that in the United States, a trainer does not have to have a degree or a certification to call themselves a personal trainer. So I would advise that somebody has education, degrees, certifications, something, and a lot of background in their chosen field before you work with them. There's also, dietitians and doctors. You should also make sure that they're qualified too and that they genuinely care about you. That's enough for this week. I hope everybody's doing well. Do work. And do work hard. It's the best thing that you can do. I'm here to help, and I will see you next week. All right, bye.